Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we start the final push on the old car to try to get it finished because maybe, just maybe, we might have plans for this thing. Thank you all so much for watching and going along on these journeys with me. I know this isn't the best instant gratification type of automotive channel that a lot of people are used to, but I do appreciate everybody who goes and hangs out and watches the progress of these builds as I kind of inchworm my way along them. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so and helping me out with that because it's free and it really helps me out with Google, who owns YouTube, who helps give me a little bit of revenue back for them selling ad space and using my intellectual property. But anyway, we're going to be working on the body on the old car. Try to get this thing buttoned up. We have a good idea of what we're supposed to be doing. We got a plan in action right now that we developed in the last video. And this week is the time to enact it. So hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have a body on the car. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be on the ground. Because, well, we have possible plans. Now, I know I said I want to sell this car as soon as possible to try to recoup a lot of the money that I really kind of need back, but here's the thing. We want to go and run the Northeast Classic up at Loudon, New Hampshire on the big track, the Cup Series track. That is in, I think, the second week of April. I'm going to have to double check on that one, but to be completely honest with you, we're not that far off of doing that. Even though it doesn't look like it right now, these pieces can all just be riveted together. But we're not too far off of that. The motor's in, everything in the drive line's in, the electrical's done. Everything's ready except the body and the bracing and the bumpers. But we were going to take my brother's car, right? And he was going to drive. Well, in a future special episode, I know I'm not supposed to tell you about it yet, but it will come out in the future. You'll see that we were putting work into his car. Well, that might not finish in time. This, however, will be finished in time, and it will be legal for said event. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to get this thing ready, and I do kind of want him to drive this car. We might swap the seat out and have him just do this car because, well, I think this car might be a little bit better suited. It's got a little bit more cam. It's got a little bit better shock. And it's got the body almost done. And it's got safety hubs. These hubs are tool steel. They are not going to break, unlike his car, which have stock hubs. And I don't trust them very much. Wouldn't take a lot to switch them over, but I don't trust it. So we're going to put everything into this, and maybe this will be going up there with him driving it. I know everyone's like, well, why don't you drive it? And I'm like, well, we made an agreement for him to drive it, so that's why we're going to do that. And the first thing on the agenda is going to be right where we left off in the last video. We got to figure out something for the front. Now, clearly we got the front tied in. We need the dash to be tied in. We need a panel for the access for the brake master cylinders and the adjusters, stuff like that. So I think the best course of action is we're just gonna have to do it. You know, figure it out along the way, make a whole bunch of cuts, cut a whole bunch of steel up, do whatever the heck we have to do, make it work. We'll have to tie in crush panels and stuff, but you know, it's just gonna be a little bit of time and effort, but that's all we have. And we're gonna have to cut some of this fiberglass cowl paneling, which really stinks, but I mean, I don't really have much choice. Again, where we're gonna have to be is right where my buzzer wheel here is. We're gonna have to cut this out. And what stinks about doing that is now I have to make, you know, a right angle little panel that goes all the way around, and it has to meet with the existing dashboard because I'm just not gonna cut that out and make a new one. I'm just gonna leave it in. You know, it's gonna be easier for me to do work around it and stuff like that because, well, we put this on top of it. Well, there's going to be gaps, right? There's going to be air gaps. There's going to be all sorts of stuff. Not quite so much on the edges, but you can tell, you know, you can see into the car. That's not good. So if we put a little panel down and flange it to rivet to here, that's fine, you know, but we gotta have a panel here so we can access the master cylinders. That means cutting up a couple $100 piece of fiberglass, which that sucks. But do I plan on taking this body off this car after this? Nope. Don't really care. So that's going to have to happen. It is what it is. So that's the plan. We're going to have to glove up, grab some sharp sheet metal, and start bending on probably my homemade bender outside, because I left the other one at my brother's house because of the other body that we're working on at the same time. So time to get to work. A couple coats of paint and not wiping off the dust later, and also not wiping off any other impurities. So we got fish eyes for days. Also, it's freezing in here, so that doesn't help. Those main body, well, not body, but you know, dash and deck lid panels are painted up. I'm gonna let these things wait a few minutes. My kid asked me to play video games with them, and I'm like, yeah, why not? That'll give me a lot of time for these to dry. Let these dry, and then we can go through the process of installing them. Once we get the dash panels installed, we can figure out something for that area. And once we figure that out, then we'll be in business. All right, it's been a few minutes. Well, an hour or two. Paint seems to be dry enough to work with, and I had to touch up a couple corners on the edges, up on the top edge and here. Shouldn't be too bad. Probably tack up by the time I start putting them in. And we'll grab some black rivets that match these and probably put them in. Get that thing started. And hopefully by the end of at least today, we'll get the forward and rear tray panels at least attached. Maybe we'll even start on some of the crush panels for the front and rear. For the crush panels in the back, I'm going to put the quarter panels on the car. That way I can at least get an idea of how wide they're going to be over here. And that should be at least a good ending point for today. Hopefully I get there. We'll see. I know it ain't painted in that little panel spot, but what do you guys think? I made it so that it comes apart with Zeus fasteners. And I almost did a good job of it too. Check it out. I mean, you can kind of pop these off. I don't know why that one's not popping. I'll have to look into that one. That one's not really popping either. Maybe I need shorter Zeus fasteners, but let me see if I can't pop this panel off. And you can get right in there to your brake stuff. I almost put it on a hinge, but then I'm like, oop, dropped one. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave this out because I got to paint the poor thing, but I almost put it on a hinge like this, and then I'm like, well, you can't get into there because then, I mean, you probably could, but the windshield's there. I don't want to scratch it, so if we're going to do that, we're going to make it a panel we can take off. So I got to fog this thing. I might go turn the heater on and make sure that it actually warms up so it doesn't fisheye as bad as the rest of this, but look at that, huh? It almost looks like I know what I'm doing. Got me a new development. The fuel cell foam came in. Got a couple bags of that we can throw right in. But check it out. Rear deck filler panel is in. That just leaves the crush panels on the sides that we have to put in. Front dash is complete. That is really wet, so we're going to let that dry for quite a while. I did put it in, though. And I know the people that have, let's just say, OCD may not like the fact that, yeah, it's not the same color and I didn't tape a line off and paint that side red. Well, personally, because I don't care. Now I know where the panel is for the brakes. This, I set it up so that we could easily build a crush panel off of this to here. No biggie. Back is going to be a little difficult because I had, you know, like I said, I welded it on and I bent these little edges to try to meet up with the door and fender, and that's all going to have to get cut out in order for us to put the rest of the crush panels in. Those crush panels I'll probably rivet in. Not too sure at this point. However, having to go through a few different engineering cycles here and do paint and have to wait for that to dry, kind of ran out of time for today. So it's league night and I got to go inside. However, we've made some serious progress because not only is the front completely tied in right here, which I need to paint, and it has the dashboard panel completely done. That means we can start with the rest of the body, as well as having the back done clearly. But that means we can start on the rest of the body, meaning bumpers, rub rails, especially the right side, because I don't think I'm going to touch the left side. The rub rails over there, they look fine. If you cave the door in, there's still a bar there. We should be able to get the rest of the body on, get an eyeball on what we're going to have to do for those, because that's going to be a lot of fabrication. Once we have a lot of fab left because we have to build bumpers. Well, at least we only have to build one bumper. One's already done right there, which is nice. But like I said, it's coming together, and it's coming together clean, which is exactly how I like it. And like I said, we might have plans for this thing before I try to sell it. We wanted to get my brother's car ready for the Northeast Classic at New Hampshire Motor Speedway with the R&R Northeast Street Stocks series. And, well, I don't think we're going to get that one ready. But this one will be ready, and it's got exactly in it what we want. So we might just use that one instead. But we'll figure that out later. I'm going inside. I'll see you tomorrow. Back again. I think the agenda for today is going to be put the quarters on, because once we put the quarters on, we're going to need to figure out the crush panels for the back right in this area here. And I need a datum point for me to figure out how far out that has to be. So what better way than to put the quarters on, because what meets up with it but the crush panels. So clearly we got to do that. I got to make a parts run later, hopefully. Maybe we can start work on the front after we get these on, but I don't know how far we're going to get with those crush panels. So that's going to be a lot of figuring and maths and all sorts of other stuff. Like I might have to cut it curved, like right here, to try to get it to fit. And it's just kind of, it sucks. That's all. I hate cutting things with curves in it because then I don't do it right. So let's just start slapping this thing together, and at least we'll get an idea where things are supposed to be. Trimmed out at least. Now what I think I'm gonna do is we're just gonna measure how long and how wide subjectively it is, give or take an inch or two, maybe even more. And then we'll figure on button it up against whatever the side is. I might take a pair of those duck bills up there and just kind of make my own right angle by hand. And I might just take some tin snips and do it the really cheapo way, because there's going to be a curve here, right around here-ish, where I'm going to need to form it. We're going to start just hacking it apart and making some crush panels just to stop majority of anything getting into the cabin. Well, through the miracle of television and sheer laziness on my part, we got 2 panels in. What I did was I just shoved it under that shelf right here, riveted it so it pulled it up so it was up against the shelf, and just left it. Any gaps or anything left over, I will simply duct tape, just to make sure no rubber, debris, anything decides to make its way in here. So there, side crush panels are done. Now we got to work our way forward, which means I think I'm going to have to hang the door, or at least clamp it on. I'll probably just clamp it on because I need to work here and put one little stanchion down there, and then probably a door bar here, which is probably the majority of the fabrication that I got to do. And then once I'm done with those things, we've finished the body. Everything goes on. Well, I lied. We don't finish the body. We cut this stuff off and build the front bumper and stuff. Then we finish the body. Not bad for a rush job. Took a little hammer and rolled it on the edge here, and I also took the old whizzer wheel and I buffed the edges as well so they wouldn't do this to me again, which would be fantastic. So anyway, got this flanged up because, well, it was too long, and I said, I don't want to cut it. So I made a flange that'll butt up against the door when we put that on. So the crush panels, besides paint, at least are almost done. I got to do a couple corners over there and figure out what I'm going to do for the, I don't know, firewalls or whatever other panels I need, because I need to block everything off. But you can see there's a gap here and there's one underneath the roll bars. So I need to box that in, and I might just put the old pieces back in. But I think we're going to wait for tomorrow. Because, well, I got to paint. I don't want to be sniffing fumes. And my kid asked me to play video games with him again. How long is that going to last? So I'm going to obviously do that. I'm just glad he asked me to do anything still. So I'm going to go paint this real quick, fog it black, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, next day. It's early morning. I'm going to try to get this stuff done as fast as possible because I got to get this car done. You know, we're going racing, and with this car, likely about a month. And this car needs to be done and out so that the other car can get in, because I want to make sure that's completely done, because that's really my focus this year. But we all know that. We're going to focus on the right here. Going to do the bottom part where you have the outer lower body support, which is usually a piece of 1-inch tubing that I stick together. And then we have to build a rub rail, and that's going to be a lot of fabrication. Then, at least the right side will be done. After that, not sure yet. We'll either go to the back or we'll go to the other side, because I got some firewalling and crush paneling and stuff that needs to be done over there too. But I'm kind of considering grabbing the old stuff and just kind of tack welding it back in, because it worked. And I still have black spray paint, so it'll look a little better than it already is. So that's the plan. We're going to have to just execute. So I had an idea. This lower body brace that I put in is really wide and really long with no real support. I also have to build a door bar of some kind up here so that in impact, or if if we're out there racing and bumping into people, it doesn't collapse the door in. And it gives a little extra protection to the cage. Clearly, it's another crumple zone. What if I built something off of this, up, across, and then back down, and tied it in like this with a thinner grade, like this type of material, like the 1-inch bars, and just tied it all in, because that will crush way before this cage does. And there's already a plate here that I cut off from before. I could probably just reincorporate the plate. And yeah, it'll definitely hold up to a bunch of bumping and rubbing. So it'll be like a Nerf bar that I kind of build myself. And I'm just kind of hoping that the door will clear, which, to be fair, I'm looking at this thing, and it's like, when you actually kick the bottom out like it's supposed to be on the fender, which I took off, and the door and stuff, it's actually pretty slab-sided. So I figure if I maybe just be safe, lean it in a little bit, like 1 inch, just to clear the door curve, I think we'll be okay. So I'm going to do that and see how that turns out. I'm going to call that good enough. Shoot, I might even be able to jack the dang car up on that. That's pretty sturdy looking. It's not that sturdy, though, because it is only 1-inch tubing, and it's very thin. It's like 067 or something like that, or whatever the hell that number is. Oh, God, the paint's getting to me. I painted a hot tube, and that's, I could see the thing steaming and smoking, and not good stuff coming off of it. But that should do for a rub rail on the right side. Keep the body on, keep people from crushing the door in too much. It should help it hold its shape pretty well. If I was thinking, I would extend this one out a little bit. But like I said, it's just to hold the door from kind of getting caved in so that we could do a little bit of racing without hurting anything. And that's what it should do. Now, we also have, I checked it with the door. Don't worry, like I said, all the decals and stuff are getting peeled off. That's not our number. That's someone else's. But I put it up here. Apologies for the drink. I'm a New Englander, so I gotta. And it looks like it fits really well. I did push that in about 1 inch. Or no, actually it was only a 1/2 inch. And that 1/2 inch really helped because that door does need a little bit of roll. So I also got to get the fuel cell done, and I don't want to do that with all this stuff on it. I can reach in here now. Well, once I clean it off, I can reach in here. And I got to get this fuel cell foam in. Then we can start, well, painting, because this looks terrible, but also working on the back bumper. And that is already built. We just have to put stringers to the back once we figure out where the cover is going to go. And once the cover's on, that'll actually give everything an idea of where it's supposed to be. I'm going to have to get the tube notcher out in order for this to be a thing, but that's not a big deal. It's already set up. So I think we'll do this first. I got the cover out of the fuel cell, and you can see there is nothing in there. So glad I got this foam here. Also, an interesting development. If you've raced for a long time, you know that when you're looking at one of these things, you're like, oh, it's got a rubber pickup tube, and that thing gets perforated and get a hole in it, and then you got to replace it at the track, and it's a real pain because now you got no fuel flow. And every racer's been there. They've always lost one of the lines. Well, check this out. This one's aluminum, and it goes to the right rear like this. Check it out. That's cool. Boy, that's a real time saver, and you never have to have that problem. But my problem is they didn't do a very good job cleaning that out. You can see all the crap in there from when they cut it. That's not cool. At least I got like 100 micron filter there. Golly. I'll blow that out before I put it back in, but that's what you get for buying cheap stuff, I guess. Well, I mean, it's not cheap, but like, it's not $1,000 fuel cell either, so. Yeah, that would be real bad to go in your carburetor, wouldn't it? Another development. Apparently, I bought my fuel cell foam from the cartel because I opened the bag and it's individually wrapped in brick form, so that's not really suspicious in any way. Also, this gives me a lot of hope as well. Any problem, just contact us first. Pills do not return it directly, thanks. It gets worse the longer you look at it, which is pretty bad. So that fills me with a lot of hope. But it's going in anyway because nobody else had any. And where else is it going to come from? So as I wait for these two little rods to dry that go on top of the fuel cell to hold it in, because I forgot to paint those, but since I'm here, might as well. I'm kind of taking and trying to fix the door. Now this thing is hammered. And in one specific spot, really. I mean, they had their exhaust, it looks like, out one side. So, I mean, clearly there's a hole here. The left door, yeah, it's a little denty and got some rubber marks, but that's raced, honestly. This one got torn up. And that's pretty indicative of the right rear as well, because the right rear also got pretty torn up. So I got to do something with that too. I'm trying to figure out my best course of action. I got the number ripped off of it, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. There's a big patch panel on the back side here that I'm trying to take a look at and see if I want to reuse without tilting all my stuff off. I don't know, but I was thinking about getting rid of it and putting new stuff in because I got a big piece of aluminum there. And then I got this tractor paint, which I don't even know if it works anymore, but I might have to go to Tractor Supply and grab more if it does, because this is actually pretty good paint. And I think it matches this color pretty well too. So, let me see if this actually sprays. Hey, it works, which means it won't work in about 5 seconds. So there's that. Maybe I'll just use that, fix it with it, who knows. The hood's a completely different story. That'll probably get riveted and fogged as well. So that's kind of where I'm at. While I wait for that to dry, we're trying to just fix a few things. Fuel cell's in. Done. Foam's in. Top's on. I even tightened the hose. That's a good thing, I guess. Nice painted straps and everything looks exactly the same. The door is done too. Kinda. I mean, from, 20 feet away, it's hardly noticeable, which it will be when you stick a number over it, I guess. But I actually had enough material that somebody else had put in behind this. That was a red material that was like a red aluminum like this. But I had enough that they had put on the backside that I cut it up, sectioned it, and was able to cover up every single hole without needing new material. And the other door doesn't need this, so I can just go peel stickers on that and shove it on the car. So now we're at the point where I actually have to fit the rear bumper before we start moving forward. That's where we're going to start. We're going to start at the back and move forward, because one problem is, I think, and don't quote me on this right now, but I think the rear bumper cover is going to line up about here, but the bar for the strut and the support that holds the, well, I'll show you, the hood pins is here. So I might have to build tabs off the back to rivet or bolt or whatever, I'd probably rivet the rear bumper cover on, as well as whatever we do to hold it on to the back quarter here. Once I get that thing at least kind of mocked up and put the bumper in with like probably squeezy clamps or something to hold it on, we can grab a couple pipes and notch them and slide them in here, figure out how far it's got to go out, tack them, pull the bumper cover back off, get that welded on. That'll be done. Kind of hit a little bit of a roadblock that was a little bit unexpected. I'm trying to get this bumper to fit on properly, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know, it's got this real weird bulge to it right here. And what's causing that? That support that I built. I built it to kind of meet up with where the hood pins go, but it's not really working out that way. So what I'd really rather do is, at this point, is cut it out, move it back so that it meets up with this edge here. Unfortunately, that's just how things go sometimes. You just may not get it right the first or second try. You might get it right the third try. So I think it's going to have to wait for another day, though, because I got to go do parent things. And, well, we made a lot of progress. We saved a door. We got the bumper on. We got... What else did we do? Oh, yeah, the sidebars. Yeah, we did those things down there. Yeah, we did all that stuff, I guess. I don't know. I'm a little bit dizzy from all the fumes, I guess. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll be back once I get home from work tomorrow. All right, it's another day. It is off camera here. It is literally the windiest I've ever seen it in my life outside. And I don't know why. This area of the country is really not known for being very windy, and it's been more windy in the last 6 months than I've ever remembered in my entire life. And there's trees down, and I'm outside like moving stuff and yelling at the power company to do something and, you know, stuff like that. But I got power, so I guess they don't care. Anyway, I'm going to address these rear mounts. That kind of sucks that... Well, you know what it is, what it is. You know, sometimes things just don't fit properly, and that's just kind of how we're at right now. And let's get it to fit properly, because that's really the main focus here. So we'll get that done, and then we're going to start moving our way forward. My kid asked me to go for a walk around the neighborhood with him and play Pokemon Go. So we did. And then my wife showed up with a brand new chainsaw so that I could liberate my neighborhood because a tree fell across our shared driveway. So I did that. That's called volunteerism. That's how things got done before taxes took all our money. Anyway, we're working on the back. I think it's pretty good. I might just keep going. Just keep putting rivets to it. Finish it up. We got to do body braces of some kind to hold these fenders from doing this down the straightaway. And I got to put the spoiler on, which I got back. And I'm going to wait on the windows. I'll probably do those very, very last because, well, you scratch the hell out of them and I don't want them getting dusty in this terrible garage. And I might want to buff them too. So we're just going to keep moving forward. We got stuff to do in the back. We got crush panels on the left side, and I got to finish that up as well. Then we can start moving forward. I don't know if we want to put the doors on yet. We might have to. Not sure yet. Things of that nature, but we're getting there. We are. We just got to keep moving and executing, or else we're never going to get this thing done. But we're so close to being done. It's just unbelievable. Like if I put fuel in that gas tank and cranked it over a bunch, it would run. Except for the fact that I don't have water in it because the weather doesn't know exactly what it wants to do. It's 58 yesterday. It's like 30 today. I'm not cracking a block because this garage has no insulation. I'm just going to keep working and shut up. let your eyes deceive you. There's still a lot left to do. Like that. That's pretty ugly. But it's coming along. I mean, I actually fastened this side to the rub rails that I put in. I even bolted it just for safekeeping. See how it's nice and straight? That's pretty sweet. Crush panels look perfect in here. Side looks like it's supposed to be there. This side actually went on a little easier than that side. For some reason, the rivets didn't match up on that side. Who would have thought that putting a body that's built for a G chassis car onto a G chassis car after it's previously been on a G chassis car would be difficult? Well, apparently it is. I got most of the stuff to line up, though. I only had to drill a few holes. Front end is where we're really kind of at odds here. I have a plan, and these will come up a hair. See, it's supposed to not flare out that bad. It's supposed to be like that. So it's about the same height as whatever this is, but this needs to go back. These hood pins are not going to work, so we're just going to hack everything off here. Maybe I'll even paint it. I still have to do a lot of metal work up front. Like I said, what I want to do is, I think I've mentioned this before, but I want to cut these off, maybe spin it around, and just move it back and cut it off like here so that this can slide up underneath and support right here, and then we can build hood pin brackets off of it or whatever we have to do. The front bumper is probably only going to be like this long, which really sucks. But what are you going to do? I mean, it supposedly fits the car. That's where we're at. So like I said, this comes up to about here. It'll meet front fender height rules. Shouldn't be a big deal. It actually looks like it's supposed to be that way as well, which is even better. Fender wells all fit. I have to tie this side into the bottom rail, which you can see. I left that one from before, and it actually works pretty well. This is pretty close. We're going to have to put a little tie in here, just a little sheet, probably just so that this, you can sit on the door and not fall through it or break anything. But you know what? It's coming along. By the way, I did put on the spoiler and stuff too, which was made for this car. It's actually got a part number and everything, so that's pretty cool. I even riveted the bumper to the bumper, so it's really rigid. But I have to make a confession with you all, which is a little bit of something I didn't want to do. I had high hopes for this, and I really, really wanted to have this body done on this video. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen because there's just too much to do. There's too much fabrication. There's too much painting. There's too much decal peeling. There's the windows. There's the body braces. There's that hole back there. There's fastening the body to the car. There's crush panels on the left side, which I still haven't even done yet. There's the front end I just told you about. There's hood pins in front and rear. There's a front bumper. Man, I really, really tried to get this one done this episode. But you can really see the finish line from here. And it looks pretty cool. I mean, this was a bare chassis that I took apart for just the best parts and pieces that it had. I stripped it of all of its value and left it in the yard to rot. And now look at it. It's it's essentially an outlaw sportsman, or like a open sportsman car, or an open street stock car, I should say. Some places would call these limited late models, I guess, but it's whole again almost, man. It's kind of surreal. I've said this before, but it is kind of surreal to sit here and look at this thing and just kind of see how complete it really is after being what I did to it, you know, just pulling it for all of its worth and leaving it to die, essentially. Now it's, look at it. You wouldn't even know it's the same car. It's painted, it's fabricated, I mean, look at this thing. It's a completely different car, and yet it's the same thing. You just never would know. It's insane. I wish I'd cleaned it off, but we're working here, you know? Sometimes she's got to be a table when you've got no room to put stuff. So I am really kind of proud of what we've accomplished here. And at the same time, I'm kind of thinking, man, I really wish that I had this thing done. Damn it. You know, it just kind of stinks. But that's the problem with the whole YouTube thing right now. And I wish I could tell you. But I've told you guys before, when you have a YouTube channel that's not instant gratification every single episode, it really doesn't do well. It just doesn't. And that's kind of what we have here is it's not instant gratification. That sucks because if you get to these people that have 1, 2, 4 million subscribers, there's a story and instant gratification at the end of it, and you can go on to the next video and not even have to remember that one. Here, I'm a normal guy. I'm just a dude out in his own garage building cars with used parts and leftover pieces and just trying to make a dream happen. And I'm just glad that you all came along for the ride with me. And I know that I give you this spiel all the time, and it's just kind of commonplace at this point, but just understand that if you're even considering subscribing, this ain't an instant gratification channel. This is what it's like. This is the most real look you're going to get at being a DIY automotive person or a short track racer or whatever we do here. So just understand that before you get involved. And if you don't, then I appreciate your time anyway. So you know what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to come back to this thing tomorrow. Saturdays are my last day that I typically work on these things. And if I do, I'll get to work. But if not, then, well, I'll let you know. But either way, see you tomorrow. Okay, I did make it back out here. It's the last day I can work on this video. We're going to try to get some crushed paneling, at least, put into the left side. If we get done with that, we'll start working on the front end because we got to keep moving forward. So I'm going to start carving up some pieces of that, make sure there's no holes in the firewall that I can really see, and probably have a few guests coming by for a little bit of help as well. So we're going to try to get that done and at least get as close as we possibly can to finished. Hey, so we lost power. Everybody's in the dark. I think they're working next door. No idea. I think a tree came down on the lines the other day and they're fixing it now. I got the generator running somehow. Took only, 10 minutes in my right arm tendons to get that running. But maybe we can keep working at least. I mean, you guys are watching it on the phone, so they're watching the race on the phone, so because, well, we lost power, so I'm just surprised you guys got signals, so all right. I'll throw this thing back up in the darkness and keep working. It's been a few minutes. I've been kind of meandering around. It was nice of Jeff and Randy to come by and hang out. I'm trying to convince Jeff to buy this thing and go racing again. We'll see. But they came and hang out and helped me out with the car. They made some panels and they attached the body to the car for me and did a couple little other minor things while I was working on the front, which is kind of cool. So I appreciate those guys and their help. We're just trying to take a look at the front end here. And we put the hood on because, well, the hood pins were still here, and this is the hood that fits. So we were kind of eyeballing it. It looks like whoever put this thing together didn't butt this up to where this is, because if you look under here, there's actually like a late model style cowl that you could have run, but I guess wherever they run, they probably had to set it up where the hood had to sit up against the windshield, which a lot of places do around here, which it will, certainly, and I don't have a problem with that, so we'll just live with it. Anyway, it's looking like, and we did, you saw in the time lapse, we lost power and then we got it back, so I was able to weld the front end in by cutting it, moving it back, and trimming the edges. So that's good. We can probably build some kind of a radiator support off of that. And I'm also eyeballing where some of these hood pins will go. It looks like there's like 5. I don't know. Yeah, well, the remnants of what used to be 5, because every skid plate is coming off, because this hood, it looks like it spent more time underneath somebody's front or rear bumper than actually, I don't know, protecting the engine. So we're going to have to patch this thing to death. I'll probably cut some big pieces of aluminum and just kind of rivet them on. This over here, we're going to have to really do a lot of work on. But as long as it's rigid, I don't really care. While they were helping me out with the other part of the car, I did the crush panels. And I did a door panel here because it wasn't quite fitting up to where the door brace was, where you sit on it and it won't collapse. So we got that on. They bolted on the door to the lower brace down there and put some rivets in her. So that'll hold on nice and tight. I like to bolt my stuff on. If you watched in the past, that's just a really good thing to do. Now, for the elephant in the room. So I really, like I said, I wanted it to be done this episode, and I didn't get it done. That happens. We're not under a deadline yet. We've still got another, month and a week until this race is actually going to happen. And we're in good shape, to be completely fair. And I know, like I said, I've said it multiple times. I wish this was an instant gratification channel where every episode there's a new project, you sit and watch it. Cool. Now we go on to something different. This is a racing channel right now, and in the future it might not be, but for now it kind of is. And this is what it's like when you own your own car, you own your own shop, and you're doing everything, this time not alone, but usually alone. It takes time. You got to be patient, and things don't happen all at once. And I kind of wish they did, but right now they just kind of don't. And that's where we're at. And I apologize if that's not your thing. But if you did come by to watch and at least appreciated it, I thank you greatly. To those of you who subscribed or are new subscribers, thank you guys too. Please tell your friends about this if you think they'd enjoy this type of thing. You know, engineering, fabrication, race cars. Trust me, we're going to have a lot of racing to do this year. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun on the way too, because spring is coming and so is racing. So thank you all very much. I greatly appreciate it. Until next time.